Welcome to the CEN show, where we present the voice of the community. The CommunityEducationNetwork.com is a platform to aid the effort of self and collective improvement. I would like to show everybody the website. So let me go to the website here. And we want to show you some of the features on the website. Okay, well, I basically could show it all. We have our home, we have our about, where we have our team members. We have the podcast, which we're doing now with all of the shows archived. There's perspective writings. We have our CEN legends. Professor Amin-Ra is a part of that. Dr. Strong will be an inductee pretty soon. We have the forum where people can do, they can put their thoughts down and have people react to them. We have an events calendar, but we don't have many events put in there yet. We also have recommendations for services and goods. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop sharing that. Okay, I'm your host, Rasaki Maskani. Tonight's topic is the book, Lynching Lynchism. It's time to heal and what we must do. Tonight's guest is Dr. Terri Strong, the author of the book. Dr. Strong is our guest for the second time, but I want to thank her for visiting the site on both shows, making a contribution, this show is the CEN show. The other show is Conscious Corner with Professor Amin-Ra and Joe Hembrick. And her contribution is very, very valuable and informative. So I'd like to thank her for that. Welcome, Dr. Strong. How are you? And would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself than what we heard the first time?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you so much for a second invitation. That's a blessing to be able to share. The last time I tried to share the part of the problem, and today I would love to shed light on the solution, as well as bring clarity to what is meant by lynching lynchism. I am a retired 25-year retired veteran from the Shelby County Sheriff's Office, where I worked in the jail division as an officer, as a sergeant, a supervisor, as an internal affairs detective, as a training academy instructor. So I worked in a whole lot of different areas of the corrections criminal justice system. And I'm also an ordained minister. I'm a pastor of St. Paul AME Church, South Fulton, Tennessee. And I've been a minister for a number of years in the AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. I'm the mother of two sons, Andre and Cameron. And I have 9 siblings, 2 are deceased. And I came up in a 2-parent household. And I bring that up because a lot of people these days don't have that advantage.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Now, let's get into the title of the book, and I want you to explain what is exactly lynchism. What is the term lynchism?
The term lynchism are the principles that were set forth. Anytime you have an ism, it's always something, it's usually something negative. It kind of is like a schism. It's lynchism. And what that means is the principles that he set forth in his lectures, in his writing, that he said would work to control slaves indefinitely, perpetually, at the very least 300 years. And his principles have worked for a long time, 400 years.
Okay,
That's
Dr. Strong, you talking about the Willy Lynch?
Yes.
Willy Lynch? Okay.
Yes, Willy Lynch. That's where the term lynch was used to hang people. That is the ultimate form of control, to take someone's life. And so when you talk about Lynchism, we're talking about the Willy Lynch principles. And the ism part, I guess, is the effect that it had, that those principles had, the principles of control, the principle of not of envy, the principles of pitting one against the other. All of those things that he set forth is Lynchism. In other words, it's his principles that he offered to other slave owners as tools of control.
And that was so that's more so mentally, psychologically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now what is meant by lynching, lynchism?
When you talk about lynching, you are when someone was lynched, it was never a one-on-one thing. It was always a posse, a group, a large group of people who came together to get this individual for whatever reason, whether it was sport, whether it was anger, whatever it was, a group came together and they formed an alliance to get this one or two individuals, overpower them, and destroy them, hang them by the neck until they are dead. Correct? So if you look at that in a psychological context for us, you can say we need to, one or two of us can't do this thing. It needs to be a whole group of us that come together and take those principles and destroy them with new principles.
Yes, got it. Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, now discuss the concept of the black table.
The concept of the black table is that group that's gonna come, that has to come together, that posse, the Lynch posse. That's what the black table is. And look at it as, look at the lynch mob that came, snatched up, hung Black men, Black women, even in slavery times. They would do it as an example in order to get the attention of the other ones and get them to conform. So the black table is to get that black posse together, round them up, get everybody on one accord and say, these are the principles that we have to destroy for our people. We've got to destroy mistrust. We've got to destroy envy. We've got to destroy hatred. We've got to destroy all of those things and replace it with the opposite. We will trust each other. We will have each other's back. We will not envy each other. We will not be jealous of each other. We will hold each other accountable. You see, because those are the things that we need to do for and with one another in order to gain the culture that we want, in order to gain the camaraderie that we want, in order to gain the strength, the understanding. And when you do that, you present a whole new people to the United States. And you say, this is who we are now. You won't be able to pit us against each other anymore. You won't be able to just tell us anything and we fall for it. You won't be able to do that anymore. Do you realize the strength that we would have? And it's not to put fear in anybody. It's not to necessarily overpower anybody. It's to define us and make us better. And I told my son one day, you know how in the book, The Art of War, you ever read that book?
No,
In the Art of War, there's a principle that says, when your enemy is getting the best of you, you need to retreat, regroup, and be ready if they ever come at you again. That's what we need to do. White people need to really wonder, where did they go? They're not in the streets anymore. They are not pushing back anymore. What are they doing over there to themselves? What are they getting together? You see what I'm saying? And it's not that you left the United States, it's that you began that black table and you began to focus on one another. And you began to, everywhere that there is a community of black people are the majority in that community, you begin to focus on bettering that community. That alone would scare the heck out of people of the United States. J. Edgar Hoover told President Johnson that the greatest threat to America is Black unity. Now, if he sees that, that's what we should be striving for. That should be paramount on top of our list. If he, the head racist of all people, that's what we should be striving for.
I agree because I have some concepts in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have something I want to read from the book.
Okay.
So, and I want you to respond to it.
What page is it on?
It's at the bottom, the last paragraph on page 26.
26.
And it starts with my brother, Jimmy Strong.
Uh-huh.
You have it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Then I want you to
okay.
To respond. Okay, my brother Jimmy Strong reviewed this manual, and he said this statement had to be somewhere in these writings. In order to kill a man, you must first vilify him. According to the dictionary.com, to vilify means to speak ill of, defame, or slander. The following is a perfect example of vilification. I asked a young man in jail where I worked, why did they, the inmates, gangs, members, etc., call each other niggas and fools and call women bitches and hoes? He prefaced his answer by saying, Sergeant, you may not like my answer, but I'm going to tell you the truth. He stated when he got in the gang, which meant gang, he was taught never to call a man brother or a woman sister. He said this because you may have to kill any man at any time, and it's easy to kill a nigga and a fool, but hard to kill a brother. He said it's easy to pimp or misuse a bitch or hoe female or get her pregnant and leave her, but it's hard to do that to do a sister like that. This tells me that there is not only an educational process in the gang, but there's also a brainwashing, indoctrination, or vilification process or oriented members, so they will think negative to achieve negative results. Okay.
This actually, that example actually happened while I was working at the jail. A young man actually taught me that and told me that. And what that told me was somewhere along the line, when the gangs first started around 1954, they had two purposes. They were to keep the community together and look out for the community members, the elders, the children, everybody. That's where the Black Panthers stemmed from. Those kinds of organizations, and I believe they either started in California or New York. I believe it was California, but somewhere along the line, the message changed, the orientation changed. And when he talked about vilifying, you never hear anything bad about Asians. Every time you hear something, it's something good. They're a doctor, they're some kind of professional. You never hear anything negative about the Asian community or Asians. You hear negative things about two sets of people, and that's African Americans and Hispanics. And actually Hispanics, you hear more about African Americans negative things than positive things. And that's our fault, because we should control the narrative. Nobody else should control our narrative. We have far more good people, great people in our race than we do negative people. So why would we allow the rappers, all of these negative people to be out front representing us? Why would we do that? Why wouldn't we say, okay, rapper with the negative lyrics, we need to shut you down because you make us look bad. This is how far you can go with this. We don't have that power, do we? So we can continue to be either allow ourselves to be seen in a dark light, or we can change that. Nobody can change that for us. We have to change it for ourselves. I was in a group, the Lynching Sites Project, and this young man, he was asserting that it's white people's responsibility to change things for us. And I asked him the question, and I had heads to snap when I said that. I asked him the question, I said, what if they don't change it? And he was like, well, if they don't change it, then things will never change. I said, why? I said, we can change it for ourselves. We have the strength, we have the resources, we have the intelligence, we have all the wherewithal to change things, but we have been beat down so psychologically to think that we need white people in order to elevate ourselves, till that's all we look for. But you can't look to the oppressor to be your savior. You can't look to the oppressor to be the one that lifts you out of the stupor they have you in. Why would they do that? If they have a change of heart, that's well and good, but you can't wait on that change of heart, because the system is too steeped with racism. Is systemic to every intricate detail of society. Every important detail. Racism has been built into it years ago, and it's running like a well-oiled machine.
Now, I have a question that I didn't write down.
Okay.
How close is your philosophy to Marcus Garvey, Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey?
His philosophy was to separate ourselves, move back to Africa, was it not?
Yeah.
To have our own nation.
Yeah. Do for self.
Do for self. I'm right there with him. Oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Because nobody can do for you what you need to you don't depend on anybody to do for you what you can do for yourself. We are not handicapped anymore. We have the educational resources. We have everything at our disposal. We have banks, we have everything. We have businesses, although we don't have many like we should. Segregation was the reason, integration was the reason a lot of our businesses closed down after 1964 civil rights movement. But that's another subject. I am so close to him because we have a unique situation in that we are the descendants of oppressed people, enslaved people. Slavery took heritage, it took culture, it took education, it took advancement, it took everything. However, if this young lady who grew up in South Memphis, poor, didn't have a whole lot of anything, if I can raise myself up, if we don't have bootstraps, we need to find some. We need to sew some and pull ourselves up by. We've got to be more resourceful than we're being. In other words, we have so many talented people. If you look at your Facebook timeline, you are going to see so much talent. This person, we have movie producers, we have all the great actors and actresses. We have great people, but we don't tap the resources like we should. My opinion. We don't use our resources like we should. We could use all of the, and that's what the Black Table is about also, Rasaki, because you see, you don't just bring entertainers together. I've seen entertainers get together and have summits and talk about stuff, but you got to have representatives from all facets of the community. I sent you, did you receive that email concerning the Black Table?
When did you send it? I
sent it Monday.
Okay, I have to go and look.
It's talking about leaders from every part of the Black community, from education to entertainment, to politics, to gang members. Anywhere there is a leader, they need to be at that table. They need to be there. And yes, I said gang members because the gang leaders are some of the most powerful leaders ever. You need them. If you can get 3,000 people to follow you into foolishness, to crime, imagine if I recondition your mind, where you can lead those 3,000 people to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I told I always like talking to the gang leadership, gang members. I loved it because I like to put a stain on their brain. And one guy, I said, come here. You know, he was in the hallway, headed back from a visit or whatever. I said, come here. I'm not doing that. I said, you don't even know what I'm about to ask you. I said, you're not in trouble. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, who's angry when you come to jail? He said, I am. I said, now let me ask you a more important question. Who's angry if you don't come to jail? He said, nobody is angry if I don't come to jail. I said, it's a whole lot of people angry if you don't come to jail. I said, I'm angry. You come in here pays my salary. I said, you could put me out of business if you and your people would not come to jail. Do you know that? And his mouth just hung open. I said, the people that make tissue for this place, the people that make the shoes you got on your feet, the people that make the clothes, the people that make those little cheap plastic pens that they say you can't have a good pen, you got to have that cheap flexible pen. So you can't stick nobody with it. The people that make your food, everything connected to this jail makes money, everything. And then when you go on to the state pen, there's another pot of money waiting there for you to make for them. And he said, I never thought about it like that. I said, that's the way I want you to start thinking about it. So that's why I say, you've got to get everybody on one accord at the table. Even the ones that people think should not be there. You need some law enforcement leaders. You need some corrections leaders. You need those people. You need people who have done time. I love the brother that was on Monday, Dr. Charles. What was his name? Dr. Amin-Ra.
His name was David Henry.
Say that again.
David Henry.
David Henry. Yeah. People like him who have been in the system need to be at the table. Need to be at the table. It's such a different table because you need what do you call them? Neighborhood association leaders. You need everybody at the table.
with a plan for reform and change.
Yes.
Especially psychologically.
A real plan.
Yeah.
Not just something that you sit and talk about, but something that you can put action to.
Implementation.
Because, absolutely.
Yes.
The average meeting goes like this. You spend 55 minutes talking about the problem. You spend 5 talking about the solution, and you spend 0 on taking action. That's our tables right now. Because marching in the streets, it worked well in the 70s. It does not work now. And marching was not the only thing that they had in the 60s. They had boycott, that they hit financially, you know? Just imagine if Black people stopped ordering from Amazon. If the Black table said, we will not order from Amazon. If the Black table said, we will not order from Walmart. If all of us have to go to the Dollar General or the Family Dollar or whatever other dollar store to get our Lysol. Can you imagine the amount of power that would have? That's the table I'm talking about. I'm talking about having your own Black primary. So when the actual primary comes around, you've already made a collective decision. This is who we're going to support. You see what I'm saying? That's the power that you need to have.
Voting block, huh?
Yeah. the church leadership, mosque, Nation of Islam leadership, all of those people need to be at the table.
I saw what you wrote in the book about, the different fractions meeting and all of that. But what I want to do is I want to get the panel involved before we go to the solutions.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna start with Professor Amin Ra, then I'm gonna go around the panel. You gotta unmute, Ra.
Bonnie Johnny, Sante sounded Dr. Strong. Appreciating what you discussed, and if I understand it correctly, I really appreciate your perspective of what some of the challenges we have with unity and organization. A lot of the things that you said have been tried in the past. Some argue that the word lynching came from Charles Lynch or William Lynch in Virginia. That was their last name. That's where the Lynch law came from, and that they would just institute their own justice. Then it matriculated into mob killing, and not necessarily hanging, but any type of mob killing without due process.
Set them on fire.
Yeah. Well, even white folks, people with the power kill you all kind of ways. and so that's a challenge. There were efforts throughout our history to try to develop unity. I'm going back to Frederick Douglass and the Free Man Bureau, and we can go all the way up to the Black Congress in 1960s that we had after the Watts Rebellion in California. That brought everybody to the table. The Panthers, the US Organization, the Sons of Watts, YMTD, SLANT, as well as Community Alert Patrol, and we had ministers, we had H.H. Brookins and all of that. Adam Clayton Powell.
I remember H.H. Brookins. He used to be our bishop.
Anyway, we had Camp Brookins Factor. He hooked up with the white man John Factor, and we used to go up in the mountains. John Factor is the brother of Max Factor, and they bought a camp, and we used to take kids up to the camp and youth. And we used to have meetings up there under Bob Simmons, Young Men for Total Democracy. But the point is that, sometimes it's a burden to think that all of us can get together and come on one accord. We introduced, especially Dr. Karenga introduced in the 60s, Operation Unity. That's unity with diversity and unity without uniformity. Meaning, unity with diversity is we accept each person's diverse perspective of problem solving. Second, uniformity. You don't have to say 100 assalamu alaikums or 10,000 Abani Ghanis. You can just say, what's up? But if, that's diversity. We had the round table by Fred Horn in the 60s. Starting in the 70s for gangs to come together. And it's not as easy as people think. You have to have principles of cooperation, principles of unity, and at the same time, what keeps us from coming together is not the will, but the money and the resources. See, people forget that the police are paid army, occupying army of our community. They get paid. The military get paid. The first laws in this country was not made for Black people because we weren't even considered citizens. It was made to keep white folks. That's where it's against the law for them to be disloyal, or what they would call treason. It's against the law for them to steal from each other. It's against the law from them. The lynching of Black people was that just you got lynched for being Black. You know, it wasn't like we broke a law. They introduced vagrant laws. The same thing with prisons, and you know, there's street gangs and then there's prison gangs, and shot callers there, and some of them are, and then they moved from just being in the street and just to organized crime. And when you get into organized crime, I mean, calling shots and things of this nature, it becomes a thing of them putting in work. I mean, it's easy for a young man to get a job as a drug dealer. You don't have to fill out no application. You don't have to dress according to nobody. You know, you don't have to worry about taxes. You know, hey, you know, people hire them, you know, as lookouts and things of this nature. I think in Cabrini Green projects, I think one of the sisters that was one of the leaders said that the number one employer of the Black community is dope dealers. And so, you know, you got to look at all the issues. And the same thing with
what political process did that table have? What political process did that table have?
Which one?
The one you just discussed.
The Black Congress or the Black? Oh, they had one. They had one. Most of them were Democrats because, you know, that's who most Black people were, but most of them were about self-determination. And see, you have the Nation of Islam, they're not into organization with other people. You know, that's the biggest struggle we had with the Million Man March. They didn't want women at first, but we struggled from a Black consciousness standpoint to have women on the platform. Second, they believe that the best way to have unity is you to follow them. You know, that's it. Because God has ordained them with the answer, and the answer be in the Nation of Islam. So that's very difficult because they have so much influence. We had Black newspapers that tried to organize people. We had philanthropists. Marcus Garvey never wanted to move to Africa. He wanted to set up businesses and corporations to bring.
He wanted a nation within a nation.
Well, the parts I read, his whole thing was sending those boats back there to set up colonies to deal with. He never went, and his whole thing was economics, and he hired over 3,000 people in New York, and he had a you know, that's what the nation modeled after, Garveyites and things of this nature,
yes.
and Elijah Muhammad. But my point to you is that no group, not even white folks, Asians, everybody's in unity. We got to just organize with the willing, and those that are willing to put the people first and the people interests first. It may be a minority, but you have agent provocateurs. We started organizations of unity throughout our history. And then, you know, the Caucasian will send agent provocateurs in that disrupt. It's called COINTELPRO. You wrote it, or you mentioned it the other day, counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO.
It's in the book.
And so my point is that what you're saying is correct. We do need a table where people can come together. They have what they call the BCCLA in Los Angeles, Black Community Clergy and Labor Association. And they've been meeting for 8 years. And they're very diverse with religious groups, with business groups, with community activists. And I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to see. But in order for it to expand, you have to be able to educate people. You have to be able to mobilize people. You have to be able to organize people if you're going to confront any problems that you have. And you need resources. You know, your judges, people don't go to jail. They are put in jail. Some people go there for refuge because they're homeless and they'd rather be in jail,
right?
And
Yes.
Things of this nature. But most people, they are put into captivity for petty crimes, as you said so eloquently, for profit. Well, for the business world, what they call the industrial prison and jail complex.
Mhm.
And like you said, the people that make the bologna, the fruit juice with no juice in it, and things of this nature is all criminal.
It
But I
is.
mean, the way they make money, and we are the biggest product, not because many of us do things to go to jail, because we commit the same petty crimes whites do. They don't go to jail, and a lot of them don't. But the point is that you've done a good job in laying out some strategies, hopeful strategies for us to come together, the need for us to come together. We got to come up with the how and the resources to bring people together. Now with social media, you can speak to a lot of people, even though you're not meeting all together at a table. You can use the social media, as Rasha Key has decided to do, to reach thousands of people, and hopefully you can captivate them into becoming a part of the network. And then from there, you can even organize further and further and further. Consciousness produce conditions, produce consciousness. And that's what I see your book doing. It's motivating people to think about solutions, about the reality of our conditions, and about the challenges we face. So I'll let somebody else take over.
Can I respond to him?
Yes, you can.
One of the most important things in today's society is marketing. You can market waste, and there's going to be a market for it.
They do it every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Black table, we're not talking about the table just in California. We're talking about a nationwide table. A nationwide table. Even the Africans here in the United States, we're talking about a table in that represents the whole United States, and you package it that way. We need a representative, and when you build the nucleus, that's when you can build the regionals tables, and then the local tables. And the way you do your financing is you do a venture capital. You don't need two people giving $1 million. You need 1 million people giving $10. You see what I'm saying? And that'll be 10 million instead of 2 million.
But let me just say this to you right quick. See, there's organizational unity hesitancy among African people based upon the intergroup conflict we've had that is fostered by Europeans, turning us on each other. That happens all the time. And so it's hard, when you say, let's bring people together at a Black table.
We got the Lynchism.
Well, I mean, Diop, and Joe can talk to this, Brother Henry, wrote a book called African Unity, Continental Unity for the Continent of Africa. There was a term called Gondwana land, and there was a term, there were efforts. The African Unity, Organization of African Unity, now called African Unity, they have very little power on the continent of Africa. They have no army, and they don't pay dues on a level in which they can solve the problem. See, in this country, continental unity means you speak one language. If you go down to California, from California or some parts of New Mexico, all the way up to Canada, they speak English. From the West Coast to the East Coast, from the North to the South. The American dollar is spent in every state. The one currency. On the continent, you have to get that money changed. Now they're talking about bringing in Bitcoin and all kinds of coins. But the point is that you got to have a national apparatus that either pay or punish people for not being a part of the movement. You want to give incentives. You want people to want to be for that. But a lot of people benefit from our not being in unity. They capitalize off of it. And I'm not talking about just white folks. Look at the black people that supported Trump, those black ministers. Look at the black, we couldn't punish them. You understand? We couldn't even overwhelm them.
But you didn't have a process in place.
Well, that's my point.
That's what the black table is for. That's why we got to lynch lynchism.
But I agree with you. It's a good perspective.
You got to lynch lynchism.
Okay. You go ahead, Rasaki.
All right. Yeah, this is why we're here. This is one of the tables right here.
That's right. This
Okay.
is the start of it.
All right. Hey, Brother Cal, Brother Higg, questions, comments?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Got you.
Okay. Thank you. I've been listening. Great topic. Dr. Amin Ra, the question I had is a lot of what he was discussing. But I enjoy the idea of the black table. And so my question was, because at first, the first part of the question I had was, we live in a society that has, the rules, the laws, and you talked about this when you first started talking about the rules and the laws have always been set against us. So we're living in this society, and everything that you guys are saying, this podcast and you writing this book and things that Amin Ra says, you guys are rebels in the institution. So my question is, how do we get from the mind state that you guys have being one of rebelling against the system to that mind state that you guys have becoming the mainstream in our society as a people? How do we as a people let this mind state become the mainstream of our thought process? And that's my question.
I'm glad you asked that question, because I go back to how Willie Lynch spread his message. He didn't just send letters out. He went and he held summits. He held meetings on plantations with the plantation owners. He went from plantation to plantation. He hit every last one of them and shared those principles. We got new principles in this book right here. We've got to go from plantation to plantation, black community to black community. If we got to go to libraries and hold meetings, if we've got to go to community centers and hold meetings, we've got to put some work in. We have got to put some work in, because anything worth having, you've got to put some work in. You don't just sit on the couch and it comes to you. You've got to be willing to work for it. And the work comes in with reversing these principles. Did that?
Okay. Yeah, I'm shaking my head and forgetting that it's a Zoom meeting. So yes, yes. And then I have I had a follow-up question to that, because once this mind state becomes part of the mainstream of our society, how do we keep like Dr. Amin Ra was talking about, how do we keep infiltrators, people who are there to destroy a system and keep us down? How do we keep them out of this future that we're moving forward towards?
You have to be realistic about that, because, there's always going to be infiltrators. Once they come in, you have to identify them and you put them out. I'm just being serious.
Yes.
Every time, even in slavery, the black slaver the one that had the authority to whip other slaves, he was harder on the slave than the white people were, because he thought that would give him an advantage and give him a little favor with massa. Okay. And it happens right today. You've got Black people right today wanting to please white people more because that's where they feel that their favor is coming from. We've got to organize ourselves in a way such that our table is the table to fight to get at. We cannot be broken apart. We will, those of us who are stuck together like glue, we recognize them. And you put them out. And you don't put them out with hate, you put them out with love. And so when you ready to come back and be a meaningful part of this organization, whatever the name of it is, I call it the Black Table, whatever it is, we won't ever do things in hate, but do things in love. Because that's one of the principles that kept us divided for so long. But we've got, the only thing that gets respect in this country is money. And that's one of the first things you've got to have, a venture capital fund. And you don't put thieves over the fund. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. I was about to say like Jesus and Judas. Judas was the one in charge.
Judas had the bag, didn't he? Judas had the bag. He sure did. Yeah. And he told him, what you going to do, you go do it quickly now.
All right, brother doctor. Thanks, Higgins.
Oh, you would, yes.
No questions. Just taking all this information in. Good information.
Okay, brother Hembrick.
Kind of tuned in late. I didn't hear the first beginning of her presentation, but I do like the part of the boycott and whatnot, and the unity thing. It's always seems to be a difficult thing to obtain because of whatever reasons. A lot of them are religious and economic and what have you. But we need to start, where we can. From all my studies of different types of history over the years, and I hate to really use him as a example, but during the Third Reich of Nazi Germany, that was the most well orchestrated, organized movements that I've read about. They had it broken down to block. They called them a block lighter. They had certain principles that was in place, and they had the process of each block, like a neighborhood watch thing, checking out to make sure people stayed within the framework of what they had laid out. As far as Black neighborhoods go, again, out here in the West, I don't see too many of them that exist anymore. Like it did, I guess Leimert Park is one of the last strongholds. Carson is rapidly changing. Compton's already changed. But I'll just say this: whatever we decide to do and meet, leave them Europeans out.
You have to. Like
Dr. Clark said, if you have to go find old wino Uncle Willy, you let him get in and make a decision. In the end. And a thing from the Garvey thing, which I don't know if Garvey kind of implemented this or not, but when they caught folks with their hands in the cookie jar, their what do you call that charter said they were supposed to put them to death and their family members. So
Oh my, snuff out everybody.
Well, if you can't get caught stealing, you got to go. But if you knew that and you knew it was going to cause your family members that also, you would be less reluctant.
Yeah. Less likely to put your hand in the pot.
Although, you know, they had a great thing going on with the triangular trade with the East Coast, United States, West Africa, and the Caribbean, with the ships and all of that. But I think some of those sea captains got bought off by the powers that be and destroyed some of the ships and whatnot. And the comment on Diop and the African Federated State, you know, there's stuff we can do right here, right now. And the thing we need to do is just get started. These youngsters getting their minds is the biggest thing I think before us that we need to do. Get the mind of the young on the right track, because they're so, this music and stuff they listen to now is just ridiculous. It's worse than it was back in the 80s and whatnot. So I'm down. Just where do we start, and let's get busy.
You know, there is a comfort zone that we are in right now. If you take your hands, you might not be able to see me, but if you take your hands and you clasp them, there's going to be, you're going to do it in a way that's always been comfortable to you. But if you move your fingers over just one, you're going to feel that it's not that comfort zone. That's the place that we've got to get to. Our familiar comfort zone is what we're in now. And we've got to get to the point where we say, it's not a matter of comfort, but it's a matter of unity that we need to achieve. And change is never comfortable. It's never comfortable. You see, if I live in a town, I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee is about 65% African American, right? Mostly African American. The county is half and half. If you look at Atlanta, Atlanta is the same way. 65 to 70% African American. So you take those as examples, and you say, well, we're going to create this kind of city in California purposely. We're going to attract Blacks to this particular area. And you do that in every state. You do that in every state. That can be your springboard. That can be your start. You see what I'm saying? Because rich people, they don't care who's in office. Why don't they care? Why don't they care? Because they got money and they can thrive under any administration. It should not matter who the president is in office. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. That's who I am. I don't care about either party. I care about Black people. That's what I care about. I care about every Black man and woman that's been shot down. That's who I care about. We got to stop looking to a party to be our knight in shining armor. Our what did Gil Scott-Heron say? Man on the white horse coming to save America. We don't need that coming to save Black people. Black people got to save themselves, ourselves. We've got to do that. And if it means strategic planning, strategic moves, strategic, what do you call it? Migrating towards one another. That's what it has to take. Black people have to make a noticeable difference in these United States that says we are united. You know, what does what does Black Lives Matter mean to you when they say that phrase?
You know, the first time I got hip to it, when the brother was shooting the police down in Dallas, and they said Black Lives Matter, and the people came out to speak, and it was two white boys. So I was like, you know, what the hell is up with this?
Because white people fund Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement.
I can agree. I agree with you. And
you can't even accept their money because they still will dictate to what you do.
Right. Well, that's almost with anything. That's why
it has to be a Black thing.
Appreciate what was said, but Black Lives Matter really start focusing on in the Ferguson movement.
So, like my whole thing, I don't suffer from the illusion of inclusion with this government stuff and all that. And I like
about Black Lives Matter was about lesbians and
Marxism and homosexuality.
It was about them Black people mattered too. That's where Black Lives Matter came from. And you know, I met with them. I met with the leaders and the organizers. Then they moved toward Black Lives Matter with regards to police killing. But let me just say this to you. It is beautiful what you're saying. I've been organizing all my life since 1965.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the National Black Political Convention.
And it's hard.
We tried to start a Black Independent Party, but the majority, Shirley Chisholm didn't come, Julian Bond didn't come, but we packed Gary, Indiana for the first Black political convention in the 20th century in 1972. I got the pictures and stuff. I was there. I was nominated out of Long Beach and Cal State Long Beach to be a representative. We chose Willie Brown to be the representative. You got to understand that.
What happened?
Well, what happened was that Jesse Jackson spoke, Imam Baraka was supposed to develop a Black agenda. We were supposed to put a Black agenda. We made motions for a Black independent political party. We made motions for welfare reform. We made motions for police reform. All of that stuff passed. We elected Willie Brown. He was a state, either assemblyman or senator at that time in 1972. I can't remember which one he was. We elected him to be our representative. And then, you know, people from all over the country was there. And you know, Ron Bellum,
How did the bottom fall out?
It didn't fall out. It feathered. Imam Baraka had 2 meetings for the Black agenda as a follow-up. And then it just feathered up because many of these dudes are married to white women. Imam Baraka was married to a white woman.
Where is that organization now?
What? The National Black Political Party? National Black Political Convention? It matriculated into what they call Black Caucus, the National Black Caucus Weekend now. And it's held in August in Washington, D.C., where all the congressmen of the Black Caucus and people from all over the country, Black people all over the country, go and lobby and speak to their congressperson. John Lewis sponsored Compton, not even the Compton Congress people. I mean, Maxine Waters invited us to the dinners and stuff, but John Lewis was the one that came and met with us when I first went in 1991 or 92. I was on the school board then.
So
but
it has
those
more
organizations filter. They start off strong and they filter. We met at Dorothy Height, the National Negro Women. I mean, I'm for unity, and I work with unity. I work with all groups. You understand? I don't care what their religion is. I don't care what, because I'm looking at things from a race standpoint, Black. But you'd be surprised at the Black people that are intricately involved. Even the Panthers were sponsored by white people. The Black Panthers, Charles Gary was their attorney. He was a socialist. When Huey came back, he hung out with Jane Fonda. Eldridge Cleaver book, Soul on Ice, was dedicated to a white woman. I mean, I don't know. You know, when we started the Black United Front, and that's still in existence, the Black United Front by Reverend Daughtry was one of the first leaders. You know, one of the biggest struggles was people saying that we need, can white people be a part of it? I'm just gonna tell you what they're gonna say, because some of them married to them, and even the brothers in prison. You know, some of them white girls become pen pals, bring them food, bring them.
I know how they do.
Yeah, you've seen it. You know, I mean, and they end up marrying them, and I mean, it's what you know. But I have hope. I don't give up.
I don't
believe
either.
that we're gonna win.
I don't either. I know it's
believe
hard.
that you have a good strategy calling for a Black table. The problem is how we gonna get them there. And the second is how we gonna keep them there. And the third is how we gonna get them to get along. It ain't as easy as, let's just call a Black table. Hey.
It's not going to be easy, number one. But my first strategy is there. We are actually making a movie based on this book. And I almost gave you the end of it, but I'm not going to give you the end of it. But it's talking about, the movie basically is about, you've had at least 3 or 4 forms of slavery. And now what? Now what is the next? Now that we've peeped the mass incarceration, the last stronghold, the last form of slavery, what do they have in store next? What do they have? What are they planning right now? Because you have peeped their whole card. Mass incarceration was the last whole card. Now what are they forming? Well, this movie says no more. We're going to plan and strategize so tight that you won't be able to do that anymore. We're going to do whatever we need to do by any means necessary, in the words of Malcolm X, to come together and be so close till one can't fall without the other. And it's not about a religious thing, it's not about a political thing, but it's about a Black thing. And all of those organizations that you talked about, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just engage them as our start. You don't have to, you can start from there and say, this is where this organization originally was. And we want to get it back to the original. You take the gang members and you say, these organizations were originally started for this purpose. We want you all to get back to this purpose. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to reinvent anything. You just take it back to its original form.
Well, I just want to say this. I done sat down with Tookie. I sat down with, he was at Simmons placement home for a long time. I sat down with some of the, you know, it's not like the gangs are unified, they're cliques. You know, this block, that block, that block. We tried to organize the Blackstone Rangers. They turned into the El Rookins in Chicago. The Sons of Watts used to be the Orientals. The Panthers were ex-gang members, prison gangs and street gangs. And I mean, that happens. It's a phenomenon. But you got to remember, you need resources. You're not going to get organized crime people to give up their crime unless you can provide them services. We've had team folks to try to organize youth. We've had
you preach it to the choir.
And my point is that what you're saying is correct. I'm just trying to say that is one, we don't put the burden on that every Black that Black people can't organize and unify. We've had unity in many different
We have it right
organizations.
now. We're just going to take it to a more structured level.
Well, you're talking about an overarching Black table where the various people and the various movements come together. You're saying you need an overarching. They be trying to build that.
And you have to have the right
called it
agenda.
the Organization of African Unity, African American Unity. And you know, when he left the nation, he said, your religion you should keep to yourself. We shouldn't even bring religion in. And he also had the Organization of African American Unity, modeled after African unity. There have been all kinds of efforts to do what you're suggesting, sustaining it, financing it, and keeping people together is the hard part. Now, the civil rights organizations stay together because, as you say, they are sponsored by white people. Operation Push, NAACP, all of them.
And that's why they've never been effective.
Well, they have been effective. The NAACP legal fund with Thurgood Marshall, they did a lot, and they used to defend people. Then turned into just the NAACP awards now, but and then they're trying to get the legal part back. But they did a lot down in the South as far as filing and challenging laws and things of that in court.
I live in
the oldest civil rights organization, you know.
No,
and people,
but when you cannot, when your organization cannot transcend into the relevancy of the times, then you're no longer effective.
Well, they think they're right on time.
Really?
I agree with Dr. Strong because movements like Black Lives Matter in the eyes of the young people and the youth have replaced the NAACP as things that we look up to. And that comes with, like you were saying, advertising and getting your message out there.
That's right.
But the NAACP has, it's like it's skipped many, I'm 42, and it skipped many a generation that it hasn't just connected with us, because a lot of the things that they discuss aren't a lot of the things that younger people 40 and younger, or even 45 and younger, adhere to. Their mind state and ours aren't about they're really not connecting on the same page. So if we had a bridge that could connect things like Black Lives Matter and the NAACP and all of these other organizations together, because like Dr. Ahmed Ross said, when Malcolm spoke, he spoke of we as a Black people. He said, I don't come to you as a Muslim or as a Republican or a Democrat or elk, right? He said, I come to you as a Black man. And before I came to this mission, I was a Black man. So that's something we have to find, what unifies all of us as a group, as a people, in this country, because that's what will move us, as in my eyes. That's what will allow this Black table to come together. The one thing that unifies all of us.
Let me read you a passage out of the book from page 17. In an effort to sincerely bring about unity among African Americans, we must all have something in common and have a systematic way of maintaining the bond we create with this factor. There also must be a plan of action we are willing to formulate and put into action immediately and without fail to make our oneness real. The commonality we must use is our heritage, culture, and most of all, our color. If you have your one drop, we can count you as one of our own and will treat you as such. Color. I'm like Malcolm. I'm a Christian, but I'm coming as a Black woman, concerned for every black child that I could possibly be a mother to, every black woman that I can be a sister to, every black brother that I can be a sister to. You see what I'm saying? We've got to get back to our color that binds us together. That's what was used against us. Do you know that the way you were selected to be the slave was by your color? When indentured servitude first started, it was criminals that served. They came from Britain, they came from all over everywhere and served their time in the United States, this new country. They came to serve their time for their sentence. And after their sentence was over, they were set free. Somebody had a bright idea. You know what? Instead of turning these people loose, why don't we just keep them and enslave them? And they say, well, how are we going to do that? The black one is the one that can be identified more easily. So we will use them. Did you know that's how it came about? That was the conversation that was had. And they said, okay, we're going to take this to a whole new level right here. And that's what happened. What did you say, high 240?
Brother Hembert?
Yeah, about
Hembert.
how that got started. You know, because it was because the slave trade was going on in Brazil and South America for 150 years before that became the United States. And my dog gone bark. Anyway, I just think that we need to start, where we are. It's just like with teaching kids now. You have to take them where they are and build from there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the requirements that I heard spoke about was level of consciousness, which our people have little of. As far as heritage and whatnot, it depends on which heritage you're talking about, from the time we got here or before we got here. So there's a lot of factors involved, but I know that once you get that in your mind of who you really are, because we were all classified as Negroes, something that they made up, and we took it from there.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to always go across the water. This is before we met the Arabs or anybody else, and what our people were doing. You have to know who you are, first of all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I love the part about the boycott with this is something I read in a book. You ever hear about the group that called the Spirit doing the boycotts in the South? There's a group called the Spirit. And when the black people in the town would decide to boycott a store and they caught a black person going in that store, later on that night, you would get a visit from the Spirit, and the Spirit would go upside your head.
Upside your head.
You got it that, we're not going in that store.
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, okay?
Matter of fact, when I was speaking about not having the black communities, I was talking about California pretty much. Yeah, I know you guys have got a plentiful down there. That's where everybody leaving here going to, because it's cheaper to live. And to speak to what Ra was talking about the gang members and kind of replacing their hustle, because they about the finances. I love the thing that the brother had about the apartment buildings. That was a couple of weeks ago, about our kids learning certain trades where they can earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
Cement, carpentry, electrical, plumbing, that sort of thing. And then, all the black people that own homes or buildings can employ these people, to do the work. And, that's a start. I tried to do that at Centennial years ago with some old retired brothers that used to meet at the donut shop every morning. Retired electricians and plumbers and mechanics. I was listening to a speech by Dr. Clark one time. There's so many vehicles sitting on the side of the road in Africa. Mechanics can go there and make a killing.
They can.
Matter of fact, it's a brother from Nigeria. No, he's from Ghana. Down the street from me, he keeps buying cars every week, fix them up and sell them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we got to start, where we can start. Everything that we depend on, other ethnic groups to do, like your nails, your hair,
Yes. Woo.
your grass. We need to be training our youngsters to take over these things.
Yes. That you need to be at the table.
This is the last thing we stop spending money on these European holidays that ain't got a damn thing to do with us. That can create a fund right there.
Right there. A venture capital.
Christmas, Thanksgiving.
We've got to change the way we do things. There's a Japanese principle that says, if I think I'm going to look over the fence at what the other races are doing, and I am going to take what they're doing, I'm going to analyze it, and I'm going to beat them at their own game. That's what the Japanese that's a Japanese principle.
Actually, it's a practice. I studied Japanese history.
Right. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Bomb was dropped on them. They didn't have nothing but a wheelbarrow left.
There's I went to this conference. I used to be a board member on this Neighborhoods USA. And every year we had a conference in a different city. And with the conference comes several tours. You can take a tour of a different neighborhood to see what others are doing, so you can find things to bring back to your neighborhood and make your neighborhood better. And so I took the Asian tour in Houston, Texas. And the Asian tour, I took that just to look over the fence to see what this community was about. And so when we got on the bus to go for the tour, our tour guide was the bank president, the Asian bank president. And she began to tell us about that community. There was a whole community of Asians, and how their culture is taught in the apartment complexes. And I asked her the question, I said, well, why don't you have the lessons taught in the school, the community center? She said, no. She said, we cannot leave our culture, the principles of our culture, to chance, the teaching of them. She said, whether it's my child or whether it's the waitress's child, she said, all Asians must learn the same principles because we are Asians, because of who we are. And I instantly thought, where is the Black class? Where are the Black apartment complexes? Where are the Black churches? Where are the Black mosques? Where are the Black places where Black culture is taught to every single Black child, every single Black person? Where is it? That's how structured we've got to become in order to win this, in order for our Black table to work. We've got to be so structured. Where did that come from? That's an Asian thing. If we look over the fence and say, okay, I know we've already got an African American, a Black history course somewhere. Now let's take that course. Let's adopt that course. Let's make sure that it's got everything we need in it to strengthen our people, and make it a point to say, we are going to do a national call. We want volunteer teachers, and we want every African American to go through this course. It's
Now,
possible, hard, but
now,
possible.
what you're talking about, teachers, I think, do it on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to another teacher's class and we see an effective strategy on how to teach the students
Uh-huh.
or how to manage the students or whatever, we automatically see that and say, wow, that's excellent. And we use it. So that's a that's a good concept.
Absolutely.
You look at what's effective and you use it to your advantage for a greater good cause,
Exactly.
good cause. Now,
Exactly.
what I wanted to bring up is I have a daughter that's in the process of establishing her own business with nails,
Mm-hmm.
with the hands and the feet. So we already have something like that occurring at our household. So this is things that we need to do, because if you look at the market for feet and nails in our community,
Man.
it's dominated by the Asian population.
Yeah.
But we have somebody that's actually gonna have their own business one day. That's the goal.
Guess
And
what you do with that venture capital?
Yeah.
You say we're going to open 10 nail shops in every major city, or we're going to open 100 nail shops. And those nail shops, once they become solvent, we're going to ask them to give back to the venture fund. You have to start somewhere. And all we got to do is look over the fence. They doing nails, feet, nails, left and right.
Yeah.
And laughing all the way to the bank.
Yes, ma'am. So now, Dr. Strong, I want you to pinpoint at least one strategy or solution that you said after page 80 in the book, you have all, and can you speak about one of those solutions?
Well, it's so many in here.
Yes. Well, the organization of the Black Table, and how you have, because I noticed that you had it starts local and it builds. Is that one of the strategies, how you kind of formalize locally, or do you start with a map with a large not a large but go ahead and explain how those the regions of the Black Table would occur and all that. Kind of, simplify it a little bit.
Okay. Can you let me share my screen?
Yeah, let me give you access.
Can you give me access?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. That's not what I want to share. This is what I want to share. All right, this is just a draft of the Black Table. The following are the major categories of leaders who should be at the table for the Black on Black movement. And these, I got some examples, names of examples. The AME bishop, the CME bishop, the Church of God in Christ bishop, the Baptist, the Nation of Islam representative, other non-denominational representatives, grade school leaders, school board leaders, university professors, Dr. Amin Rad, Rasaki, HBC leaders, social justice leaders, the Action Network, Al Sharpton, Equal Justice Initiative, a civil rights attorney. My cousin is a civil rights attorney. Business owners, including farmers, large and small, nonprofit leaders, grassroots leaders, neighborhood USA, that's a national organization for neighborhoods, gang leaders, all major Black organizations, celebrities, Black media, that's your Roland Martin, Thaddeus Matthews. Black corrections professionals, Black police, sorority leaders, fraternity leaders, filmmakers, Ghanaians, Liberians, Kenyans, South Africans, all the Africans who live over here, the Black militia, foster care, Black foster care leaders, economists, Dr. Boyce Watkins. You see, that's a wider variety of people who you need at that table. You see the difference? You got a whole gamut of people. That is like a, I call it the Black table, but it's a Black standing committee, a summit that comes together and hash out. You remember when they wrote the song, We Are the World? Michael Jackson and the after one of the award shows, they had made a decision to go into a studio and they were not going to come out until they had a finished product to market, to sell that product for, I forget the cause that was the of the day at that time. But they went in and they didn't come out until they had that song, We Are the World, finished. They had it written, they had it, the song, they had it recorded, it was ready to be marketed in one day. That's the tenacity that we've got to have. That's the commitment that we've got to have. All of those leaders that I just talked about, that's the commitment that we've got to have to say, we're going to come up with a solid plan. And it's not going to morph into something else, Dr. Amin-Ra. It's not going to be controlled by white people. It's going to be controlled by the individuals at the table. And it's going to be a democratic process. Whatever the democratic process votes on, that's what happens. That's what takes place. So that's the Black table. But if I could say, if you look on page 80, it says, what's the plan? And it's a Nehemiah plan. If you look under the unified plan and unified actions, and things we must do for ourselves and each other, from 15 all the way to 116, I believe, are things that all of us can do, can start to do in order to change our mindsets. All of these things are psychological things. Love each other, trust each other, treat each other with respect. Make these the norm that we do. Make these the expected things that we do. Be kind to each other, be helpful to one another, forgive, know each other, be trustworthy, be unity builders, teach each other, learn from each other, greet each other in public. If it's nothing but greeting each other in public, starting out, every Black person, when you see another Black person, you greet that person and let them know that why you're greeting them. It should be understood. I'm greeting you in unity. You see what I'm saying? Simple things begin the process of unity. Very simple things. Have you ever seen the,
Excuse
go
me,
ahead.
Dr. Strong, what page is that on again?
That's on page 81.
81, okay.
Have you ever went to Walgreens and saw the red nose? They're selling red noses that you put on your nose. You ever seen that?
I've seen it before. It's
You've
like a
seen it
clown
before.
nose.
Yes, it looks like a clown nose. Who in the world would sell a red nose? Who in the world would buy a red nose? And do you know how many red noses they sell? Simply because of the meaning behind it. If I greet you, if I just say hello and go on about my business, but if I say hello in unity, you know that means Black unity. You see what I'm saying? Just something simple as that. If we could just start something like that, that catches on like that. If you did a public service announcement, hello, Black brothers and sisters in unity. That's the only message we have today. Are you, am I getting my point across? That's what, that's how movements are start. Black Lives Matter, 4 syllables. 4 syllables. There's not a person on this earth, I don't believe, that has not heard Black Lives Matter. Not one in these United States have not heard Black Lives Matter. You got signs in your yard, you got that. And it all started from 4 syllables. How can ours start? Hello in unity. Well, that's about 6 syllables. But just from that alone, just that start. You see that raised fist you got behind you? That used to be so powerful. Just the raised fist. Hadn't said a word, but that raised fist said Black power. Said 2 words.
Yeah, I get it.
The last thing I want to share is I want to share my screen one more time and play something for you. It is the you all will be the first to see this, and it is actually the trailer for the movie that's based on the book. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm very excited about that. If I can find it right quick. I know I put it under the watch later. And it should not be that far down. Oh my goodness. Any more questions while I'm trying to find this?
Brother Doctor, did you come up with anything yet? Or
No, just very interesting. I think both, Mr. Strong and Amara, both have a point. Very interesting what she wants to do. I agree, but just as your book, basically, it's kind of weird. Your book that you wrote explaining why the thing you want to do won't work, because you always gonna have that somebody in that group want to go and go to the white man and tell all the secrets. So it's kind of, like Rob was saying, you're gonna have some whites behind it. It's not gonna work because you're gonna have that white person want to come in that group and destroy everything. And like we were always told, I always know, once you get involved more than one Black person, you're gonna have a problem. When you're trying to create anything, because you're always gonna have that, like you said in the book, you're always gonna have that guy, that person wants to go and be friends with the white person and tell what you're doing and some way try to destroy what you're doing. Even when you get a group together, I saw the names in the list, a lot of people.
You know what?
you know, but
We don't care. We don't care that they know.
yeah, but no, I was saying just both you guys have both strong points. It would be a task. So I was asked, like I tell my daughter, what did you do yesterday? What did you do today? What you gonna do tomorrow? So we know yesterday you wrote a book. You got your, you know, you saw your plan. Today you announced your plan, your ideals. So what are you gonna do tomorrow to get your plan in order?
I cannot find this video. And I know I had it set aside to watch it. I don't know, maybe the cinematographer took it down. I'm sorry, but I think he took it down. But I'm glad you said that, because I watched this John Wayne movie before. It was called Big Jake. That was my favorite cowboy. And they were taking some ransom money. His grandson had been kidnapped, and he was taking the ransom money in. And his son was saying, Father, why are we marching right through town with this big box? He said, because we want everybody to know that we got it. And we also want them to know that they can't have it. So we're not hiding anything. Don't have to hide anything. At the same time, our unity has to be so strong till it says you can't tear it down either. If others can do it, we can do it. Let's change our narrative. White people, if somebody leaves here and comes to tell you anything, you still can't penetrate this organization. We control the narrative from now on.
Well, I know that anytime Brother Doctor say it can't be done, Professor Amon Rock come up with some words that say that I'm gonna be optimistic, and
he does. Yes, he does, and I love that. I love.
So,
he is so optimistic.
You can't put out that flame that burns in people and their desires to achieve what they want to achieve, and it starts with the ideas. It also starts with, like you said, taking what was done in the past, and it worked for a amount of time, and like Ross said, it kind of, I don't, he didn't use the word fizzle, but it kind of broke down some, but
it kind of morphed into something else.
Yeah,
they call it lulls in the movement. Lulls.
Yeah.
But you just gotta keep going. I mean, what are you living for? You living for to see your what you realize come into reality. So ain't no stopping me. And you gotta have that attitude. And I always say nothing stopping me but death. But my idea is gonna live on. If enough people hear them, enough people,
embrace.
I mean, it's there.
Is it?
So you just gotta stay, what they say, steadfast,
unmovable.
Yeah.
Always abounding in the work.
So
we've been working with the Haitian community for about maybe 30 years. We have representative that goes to Haiti 3 and 4 times. With them, even after before the earthquake that killed 200,000 people, we were going to Haiti because it was our hallmark of the Black liberation and the revolution of the first to win their independence
Right.
and things of this nature. But you got to remember this, you know, Operation Unity and Guzo Saba, created by Dr. Karenga, it says unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Then it said the second principle is Kujichagulia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Then it's Ujamaa, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together and make the brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. And then there's Ujamaa, cooperative economics, you know, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses.
That's it right there.
And to protect, to profit from them together. Nia, purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kuumba, creativity. My son's name, Kuumba. To do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and more beneficial than we inherited. And that's for the future. And then finally, faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. You know, those are principles, and that's the foundation for Kwanzaa.
That's right.
I'm just saying you, that's the foundation for Kwanzaa. That's what Kwanzaa is about. It's not a celebration of just an African holiday. You celebrate the 7 principles, but and that's why it's 7 days. But the point is, I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying about lynching. But at the same time, because I've been in so many organizations and worked with so many and build organizations, I then had a chance to see the challenges that go with building unity in organizations. Black Lives Matter got its start. They weren't that strong until after Floyd was killed.
That
Then
window of opportunity.
Well, the white folks got involved.
That's right.
The socialists, white folks was in there, Antifa and everybody else. And that's how come they got rid of that sister, the district attorney in LA. They was only having 13 people in front of her house until after Floyd was killed. And then all of a sudden they grew to thousands of people to get rid of the district attorney. But the district attorney has been ruling against Black police for years. It wasn't just her. I mean, all I'm saying is that we can do it. We got to do it. The struggle is a long, protracted struggle. And what you're doing, Dr. Strong, is adding to solutions and adding memoirs and a perspective that maybe motivates somebody or even a group to try to put those things into practice. That's what I'm saying. It's not easy. We had Black United Front. We had the Black reparations, National Black Reparations. We had the National Black United Fund, where we tried to develop money. The NAACP used to give $1, the $2 bill. You know, we did all of that, and we got to continue doing it, trying to do it. No matter how many times system knock you down, you got to get up and continue the struggle. That's one thing I'm saying. And your book is a continuation of the struggle.
That's right. Brother Roski, I found it.
Okay.
Hi, son. How you doing? Terrell, don't you hear me talking to you?
Granddad, but I just got a lot on my mind right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Listen, son, come over here and talk to me. Sit down, calm yourself and talk to me.
Okay, Granddad.
Tell me, son. Talk to me. Son, what's wrong? Talk to me. I was at the course playing ball, right? Trying to get right for trials for next year. And I decided when I was done, I was going to jog home. And I had my music playing in my ears and whatnot. And all of a sudden, 3 cops surrounded me. And on top of that, they jumped out their vehicles with their guns drawn on me. What? Did they do anything to you? Are you okay? I am now. Did they tell you why they stopped you? Usual, you fit the description of the suspect that we're looking for. I'm tired of this. When are these killings and social injustice going to end, Granddad? Sadly, son, it's not designed to end. First, there was slavery, the start of all our misery on American soil. In the midst of a war fought to say whether we stay 3/5 of a person or become whole persons in the light of freedom, or so we thought. Then there was Mr. Jim Crow and the black codes of Negro control, from South Carolina all the way to the state of Texas. And we thought that if we could just appeal to the conscience of those in power, in order to be treated with civility, maybe, just maybe, then we would taste in our souls the liberty we saw others enjoy. But then comes the new slave master once again, dividing black families with mass incarceration, using black music styles against us, herding black men into the silos of prison, while our women raised our children alone, with a welfare check, a factory line job, or a government career replacing us. And now that we've seen all your tools of control, oppression, and destruction of our people, we can't help but wonder, what is your next secret weapon to rob us of the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that the Lacoon Emancipation Proclamation promised us when we gained the other 2/5 of our womanhood and manhood? Maybe the badge and the bullet? Well, we won't stick around any longer to find out. We're going to just be the best human beings we can be, that just happen to have a greater share of God's melanin in our skin. We will be great at loving and validating ourselves and each other, at being true to our Black culture, whatever we decide it is, and not one manufactured for us. And we will resurrect that lost faith that used to bind us together like glue. Black is beautiful. So, melanin men of America, you will not enslave us, control us, or oppress us anymore. It's time we had true freedom by any means necessary.
Okay, that's the trailer for the movie. It's just a highlight. What do you think about the concept? Did you get the concept of what it's about?
I got it. It's just I heard most of it, but it was a little bit muffled because of the being on the Zoom.
Okay.
But yeah, it was good, and I can't wait to view the movie. Can't wait to view it. So, any last words, Professor Ra?
I'm just like you. I want to see the documentary and see the other dynamics of it, and just continue to encourage people to read Dr. Terri Strong's book so they can understand her suggestions and encouragement for Black unity.
Okay, Brother Hembrick.
I had to step away for a while. But anyway, from a national or as far as getting everybody on the same mind frame, I like to just recommend the miseducation education of the Negro, audio, or reading, a video, however folks can get it. That's a good place to start.
Right. Brother Doctor, any last words, comments, question?
Everything's cool. And, don't Roski get you wrong. I'm not saying you can't do it. At one time in my career, they wanted to put an event together. They said it couldn't be done, but I did. I brought together 1,000 parolees who were just released, over 100 vendors, 12 different law enforcement agencies, and nothing happened. Everything went smoothly. I was part of NOBLE, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. My only thing is, I will say, like I told you, ask you a question, what did you do yesterday, today, and what are you going to do tomorrow to get your plan together? What's different about your plan than all the other plans that's been come before us? I never tell them when they can't do it, but hey, got to be different. You got to do it. You have a plan, and like I said, what you did yesterday, today, what you gonna do tomorrow to make it successful.
Well, I know you have a strategy.
Can't keep saying every, we've been, doing this for 10, 20 years trying to get together. You got to work on it, Like I said, when I did my little thing, they said it couldn't be done. I got done in 2 weeks. Everybody was shocked that I got it done, because, hey, I did.
Then we need you at the table.
Where there's a
I'm
will,
retired.
there's a way.
I'm retired. I'm done.
You're not.
I'm done with people. I'm done with people.
Yeah.
No, your contribution is strong, brother Doctor. It's strong, and we hear you, and we know you got a strategy when you say so.
Like I said, this is my thing. I saw your plan, and just like I said, it's just my work ethic. Everything on that plan, I will reach out within the next few weeks, calling everybody on that list, organizing everybody. That's just how I am. And that's why, I always put the people, hey, it's never going to work because no one does that. No one works hard as I do. I did.
That's why I need your help.
Yeah.
I can send you the list and you call the people.
I'm officially retired. I'm officially retired. I can advise you, but
I was getting ready to say, well, can you act as a consultant?
I can do that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Dr. Strong, any last words?
I just want to say I appreciate the invitation to be on, the opportunity to dialogue, and I even appreciate the challenges to the principles of the book and the Black Table and the New Black Movement. I readily accept it because if you only think your own thoughts, then there's no dimension in that. But when you've got other opinions, then that brings depth to it. But I'm like you, brother doctor. I like action. I'm a workaholic. I'm retired, but I'm still working. And so I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much. Look for the movie True Freedom. It will be out sometime next year. So look for it in theaters. It's either gonna be in theaters or a Netflix or Prime exclusive. One of those avenues, but it will be out. And the trailer will be out soon. He's got to do some tweaks to it. The person that did the cinematography is Jason Crawford. He lives in San Diego, and it was actually shot in San Diego. And so I appreciate his work as well, and look forward to it.
Definitely looking forward to it, and I appreciate your contribution to the podcast, and we definitely support your work, and I know that we are on board. I mean, because the work speaks for itself, and I'm ready for the implementation of some of the ideas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I appreciate everything. So Professor Ron, what we have on Monday for Conscious Corner?
I'll talk with Joe about it and we'll see what we're gonna come up. We'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I had it on top of my head, but I can't even remember right now.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. I know it's gonna happen. We're gonna get it together. So next week on our show, we have educator Ronnie Roberts back. And the topic's gonna be medical mandate effects. So we're gonna be talking about some current information, the mandates they have out here. So that should be interesting. So
Very interesting.
yeah.
Rosaki, real quick, can Dr. Strong upload her plan to your website so people can look at it and read the ideals? I kind of want to look at it some more.
Well, we'll discuss it. I know she sent me a copy of that. I do have that, Dr. Strong, and I read that a few months ago.
That's a rough draft, but
Yeah.
if you want it on there, let me redo it in a better form.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Is
That'll
it in
be
your
fine
book?
That particular part is not in the book. The structure of the table is not in the book.
Yeah, we could definitely, if you want it on the website, we could definitely put it on the website.
I will definitely send it. Brother
Okay.
Doctor, do you want a copy of this book? I can send you a copy.
No, I will buy your book. I buy it on Amazon this weekend.
All right.
And so next time you come on, be prepared because I will ask you a lot of questions.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you being a consultant to the movement. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Thank you all. You all too.